Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. So we are from group 3 and we would like to present about children versus adults in second language learning. Well, beforehand, let me introduce my member group's name. The first one is Sivin Rufasela, next Gazian Nur Islami, Vanessa Alfianti Tambunan, and Adam Dwi Cahyo. Well, so here we discuss a couple of topic regarding to the children versus adult in second language acquisition. Well, first, we will discuss about a common belief. In the book of Introduction to Psycholinguistics, we will find that most people believe that children are better than adults when attempting to learn a second language. So, factors that involve in second language acquisition can be divided into two terms. The first one is psychological and then social. Well, if we talk about psychological, we will find another term. Those are intellectual processing, memory, and motor skill. And I will explain to you one by one. Let's start by intellectual processing. Intellectual processing itself, which is involved in the determination of grammatical structure and rule. So remember, intellectual processing refers to the individual's analytical determination of grammatical structure and rules. And then, if we talk about memory, memory is like the storage in our brain, which is very essential for us to learn a language. And then motor skills concerned with the pronunciation of the sounds that involve in the second language. For example, the use of the articulators of speech, such as tongue, lips, mouth, and vocal cord. And another aspects that affected in psychological, we also need to consider about the role of motivations and attitude regarding to the learning of the second language. And if you see the first slide in the PowerPoint, we also state that one of the factors that affect in the learning of the second language is social. So the social itself is like the type of the situation, setting, and interactions which affect our ability to learn a second language, in particular like the natural or the classroom situations. And those are the social factors that should be considered. And now we come to the next slide. We're talking about psychological factors that affecting second language learning. Now I explained about intellectual processing. So actually, there are two ways to learn the structure and rules of the second language. First, someone can explain them to you or you can figure them out for yourself. If someone explains the rules to you, it is called explication. While if you can discover the language by yourself, it is called induction. You see the difference, right? Well, I repeat again. If someone may explain the rules to you, it would be called explication. While if you can discover the language by yourself, it would be called induction. I think it's not really that hard to distinguish between the explication and the induction. And then we will discuss it one by one. Now I would like to discuss about explication first. Explication itself is the process whereby rules are explained to a learner. Or we might say that explication is the process whereby the rules and structure of a second language are explained to a learner in his or her native language. So normally, if you read the book Introduction to Psycholinguistics, normally explication is presented in the learners of the first language, and later on learners understand and apply in second language. No second language can be learned entirely by such kind of explication, but explication may be even faster means of learning than induction, since induction requires that a learner be repeatedly exposed to words, phrases, and sentences along with relevant situations that give some induction as to their meaning. Jadi, explication ini dia lebih kepada bentuk pengajaran, sedangkan kalau secara simpelnya induction ini lebih kepada proses penerimaan second language itu secara natural. You see the difference? And now I will explain more about induction. So the definition itself, induction is learning by self-discovery in the essence of the process induction. Jadi induction ini dia itu mempelajari secara natural, mempelajari dengan cara menemukan sendiri. Nah, selama itu sesuai atau relevan dengan situasi bagaimana language itu relevan, seperti penggunaan sehari-hari, penggunaan sentence sehari-hari, itu lebih kepada proses induction. The child who is exposed to second language speech and remembers what he or she has heard will be able to analyze and discover the generalization or rules that underlies the speech. Nah, jadi di sini young learners atau anak-anak itu yang dia itu mengingat atau mendengar bahasa keduanya itu secara natural, dia akan menggunakan analisanya dan menemukan rules-nya itu secara induksi. Jadi dia itu menerimanya secara natural karena dia itu menganalisa speech atau menganalisa language itu berdasarkan dari apa yang dia dengar dan apa yang dia ingat. Nah, di sini juga dijelaskan di tabel the importance of psychological and social factors that affecting second language learning for children and adults. Here dijelaskan bahwa children under 7, the inductive intellectual is high, but if you teach children second language to children under 7 years with explication, it would be really hard because of the intellectual processing. So you can get the point. But if you teach second language by explication to adults over about 12, it would be really useful because the intellectual processing in adults over 12 years old, the intellectual processing is high. So you can see the difference. Jadi kalau untuk anak kecil under 7 itu dia belajar bahasa keduanya, second language, melalui induktif. Nah, intellectual processingnya itu lebih tinggi daripada dia diajarkan. Tapi ketika di adults itu explication-nya atau jika diajarkan itu dia akan lebih tinggi intellectual processing-nya. So you get the point? I think what I explained about explication and inductions will have benefit for you. And the next presentation will be discussed by Gazia Nur Islami. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vivi. So we come to the next slide. It's about memory. So the memory is the storage in our brain, which is very essential for us to learn a language. So in this part, there are vocabulary learning and word memory, and then syntax learning and episodic memory, and the last is children's memory ability. So we discuss first about vocabulary learning and word memory. So, memory is crucial to learning. It is inconceivable that a person with a severe memory impairment could ever learn his or her native language, much less as a second language. The learning of the simplest word requires memory. For example, a person learning the word dog must retain a connection between the hearing of a dog and the experience of seeing, touching, or smelling a dog. Jadi untuk mempelajari word tersebut, kita bisa memberikan contoh yang langsung kepada mereka agar lebih bisa dipahami dan bisa dan mudah diingat. So the next is syntax learning and episodic memory. Memory is similarly crucial for the learning of grammatical structures and rules. It is essential to remember situations where to use rules. According to Tulfing 1983 and others, the type of memory that involves situation refers to episodic memory, for example, in outside the classroom. So the degree of politeness of an utterance must be determined from the situation in which it occurs. So the learners must note who is talking to whom and what their status is. And also, this information must be remembered and associated with the different expression. So, for example, here, close the door. Please close the door. Would you please be so kind as to close the door? So that's kind of the example, the different expression, how to use politeness structure. The next is children's memory ability. So here, children under 7 years refers to the ability at rote memorization, while the 7 to 12-year-old refers to cognitive ability in learning a language. So in this book, Harley and Dog in 1997 investigated students who were in an immersion language education program, the teaching of subject matter through a second language. So in older children began to apply. So they said that older children began to apply their cognitive ability in analyzing the syntactic rules of the second language, while the younger children relied more heavily on their use of rote memory for language learning. So the next slide is about motor skills. So motor skills is the use of muscles in performing certain skills like walking, writing, and speech. And motor skills concern with the pronunciation of the sounds that involve in second language. For example, here the use of articulator of speech. So good pronunciation is clearly an important part of learning a foreign language. The better our pronunciation, the better we can communicate with others. So the creation of speech sounds is related to the ability to control the muscles that manipulate organs of speech. Motor skill is a term that psycholinguists use to describe the use of muscles in performing certain skills for general ones like walking, to find ones like writing and speech. So the motor skills that are involved in speech utilize what linguists call the articulator of speech. These include the mouth, lips, tongue, vocal cords, and etc., all of which are controlled by muscles that are under the general the general control of the brain. So the articulator of speech have to do the right thing at the right time, like open the mouth in a certain way, position the lips and tongue in certain way, and etc. If one is to utter sounds accurately. So the next is decline in general motor skills. So to have excellent motor skills, one have to start young. Maybe they can do sport, typing, or artwork. But why they should start the activity like sport, typing, or artwork? Because somewhere around the age of 12 years, the ability acquire the new motor skills begins to decline. So the reason for this decline in fine control of the muscles of the body is as yet unknown, although since the decline is of such a general nature, involving many muscle groups, it seems likely to be due to some change in central functioning in the brain. So hormonal change prior to puberty may have something to do with this, but this is only speculation on our part. The next is decline in ability for new articulations. As we age and as our ability to acquire new motor skills declines, our ability to command our articulator of speech is negatively affected. Consequently, we can expect that children will do much better in pronunciation of a second language than adults. So, for example, in the Oyama study of Italian immigrants, show that the younger the children, more native-like would be their pronunciation. The next slide. Uh, there are two other important psychological variables. First, motivation, and the second, attitude. So, we discuss first about motivation. A number of factors that affect second language learning operate only in certain type of situation. So the children at the age of 1 or 2 year old, they needs no motivation to learn a second language. Given a language input, the young child will automatically learn the language, with learning even occurring in negative circumstances. So, for at the age of 4 or 5 year old, um, however, they may need motivation in order to learn a language, to learn a second language, since by that age, the child may be aware of whether a language is positively or negatively regarded by others, or the child may prefer other activities. In general, there are a large number of variables involved in second language learning, such as intergroup attitude, social situation, personality and self-confidence, desire to communicate with a particular person. In classroom setting, motivation plays an important role. It is connected to like or dislike of a teacher, amount of efforts or assignments, exposure to the language. So the teachers are generally well aware of this possibility and often devise ways to increase positive motivation and attitudes. The next is attitude. Um, Many variables such as status and cultural background become more potent with the age of the learner and are important consideration in the classroom learning situation. So negative attitude toward language or language speakers may affect one's determination and motivation to learn it. So this is not to say that attitude may not play a role in the natural situation as well. Um, by 4 years of age, children have developed attitude towards language. They know how people react to different language. For example, children may not wish to use their native but foreign for this country language outside of the home. They may prefer to conform to their peers or other members of the dominant language community. So this attitude may be caused by um, religious, political, or social background of the language. These attitudes are most influential to older children. So that's all for my explanation about memory, motor skills, and two other important psychological like motivation and attitude. So the next slide presentation will be presented by my friends Fanny Safianti.
Well, move to the next material. Setelah tadi you're listening to the previous presenter about psychological situation, here I continue second factors which involve in second language acquisition, that is social situation. Alright, according to these resources, there are two categories of social situation which affect second language learning. The first one is natural situation and classroom situation. Okay, let us discuss it one by one. Actually, natural situation is one where the second language is experienced in a situation that is similar to that in which the native language is learned. Natural situation also have some characteristics. The first one is, in learning a second language in natural situation here is similar with learning first language. And then it can involve social situations such as those involving family, play, or workplace. And last, language is learned in relation to surrounding objects. Jadi objek-objek yang biasanya kita temui di everyday life. And next, a classroom situation. Classroom situation as the characteristic as well is involve the situation of the classroom. And the second characteristic is there is a teacher who knows second language and learners who come to learn. Jadi dalam classroom situation ini harus ada teacher dan juga siswanya. And the third is a teacher must give stimulus, because if the teacher doesn't give the stimulus, second language learning cannot be started. And the last, the fourth, language is used is very limited, plain and fixed. According to language material tentu ya. And the last, this include social adjustment to the group process. Here mean individual must subordinate their behavior and follow classroom procedure for the benefit of all. Means they need to attend the class in order to learn. They need for long periods of concentration, and when required have to do home study. And then a question just rise, who is better, children or adults. For the natural situation in children actually has good feedback or high on inductive, which means the children can learn language much better when they can figure it out by themselves, while natural situation for adults mainly giving bad feedback or low on inductive. The second comparison is natural situation also more affecting towards the process of learning second language, while for adults, this category doesn't give much advantages in acquiring second language because adult, ya, pada dasarnya is more like to stay at home rather than interact with other or native speaker. Of course, it is contrast with children where they like to make a friends with new people and they start to acquire new language by interact with their playmates. And then in language context ya also natural situation ini kan adalah learning language yang biasanya kita gunakan di sehari-hari. Nah, of course, children will use simple language and communicate, while adults, when they want to communicate with other adults, they try to communicate using more advanced language. Jadi, makanya kenapa natural situation ini lebih berpengaruh kepada children. And lastly, sifat children itu sendiri yang mana more acceptable between other children, even adults, also support natural situation in learning second language, while adults, even they go shopping, they go to the bank, they go to the mall, it gives very limited in time and scope. Interaction in workplace could be very limited as well in learning second language. In result, it is obviously that natural situations are more applicable to children rather than to adults. But it doesn't mean adults cannot get beneficial from the natural situation. It could be, tapi tidak sebanyak advantages yang didapatkan children I mean. And then the second categories, classroom situation for children first. Actually, they don't really good in explication, while adults are better in explication because adults are able to learn second language by rule and structure. Sedangkan children, mereka itu tidak menggunakan bahasa atau acquire language itu by rule and structure. And then children basically cannot control their behavior. Also can cause the classroom situation is less effective for the children rather than the adults. Ya, karena tadi ada karakteristiknya dari classroom situation sendiri bahwa ini group works gitu ya. Jadi kalau untuk anak-anak itu tidak terlalu memberikan banyak efek dan less effective. And the last fact that children are not quite proficient in analyzing language also support the first fact that children are not good in explication. Alright, lastly, I just wanna conclude this social situation topic that both situations have advantages and disadvantages ya. In children, either in adults, where natural situation are more better for children and classroom situation are better for adults when learning second language.
Okay, I think this is my part to explain the rest of material. I want you to ponder this question before I explain it. So the question is there a critical age for second language learning? Let we answer later. So in this part, I will tell you guys about 3 points on the textbooks. First point is adult can learn a second language. And second point is no demonstrated critical age for learning syntax. And the last but not least is critical age for pronunciation. So let's begin the explanation. Point 1, adult can learn a second language. Honestly, there is no certain theory tell us about the critical age for learning of second language. But many observers observe that adult second language learning is concerned. But in fact, a great number of adults can learn the syntax of other language perfectly. There are those who speak second language so well that on the basis of grammar alone, it's not including the pronunciation, which we shall deal with shortly. Might be they will be judged a native speakers. So jadi di sini tidak ada kritikal umur yang kritikal untuk belajar bahasa kedua, karena orang dewasa juga bisa mempelajari bahasa keduanya. So let's continue the second point. There is no demonstrated critical age for syntax. Johnson and Newport in 1989 found the effect when they had a native speakers of Korean and Chinese write the grammatically of English sentence. The earlier age is the better to determine the ungrammatical of English sentence. Mayberry and Locke in 2003 also report the early exposure to language, no matter whether spoken or signed, contribute the most to later success in learning a second language. On the other hand, research exists providing data to refute the claim of a critical period of the acquisition of grammar. The same Mayberry and Locke in 2003 study still show that adult learners can achieve a near native competence of second language grammar. Also, there are several researches such as Van Winkle in 1994 and Genesi in 1996 and Birdsong and Mollis in 2001 show that even learners who begins to acquire a language after puberty can reach native speakers levels. It is safe to affirm that there is no critical age in terms of acquiring the syntax of a second language. Jadi di sini juga tidak ada umur yang pasti dalam mendapatkan kemampuan grammar dalam dalam bahasa kedua ya. So the last point is critical age of pronunciation. Mack in 1986 and Perani et al. In 2003 argue that even a highly competent second language speakers seems to perform on a native level. Experimental tests will reveal the difference both in grammar and pronunciation. Sebastian Gales and Boss 2001 suppose that even preschool age is already too late for acquiring near native phonology. One psycholinguist, Tom Scoville, has claimed that no adult can ever be successful in the regard. However, there is a growing body of research that challenges any strong criterion of critical period of actionless acquisition of language, such as the one of Scofield proposes. Some adults do appear pick up accentless speech. Novel in 1978 trained adult learners in the pronunciation of Chinese and Japanese. So, judged by native speakers, half of them were able to pass as native. Also, Matusi refers to a number of recent study proving that some adults can pick up near native foreign language pronunciation even without explicit instruction. Matusi in 2000. Current neurological research of blind people suggests that the human brain retains its flexibility throughout life and change to adapt language change even for older people. So, jadi untuk pronunciation juga tidak ada teori yang menunjukkan bahwa ada critical age for pronunciation, tapi menurut argumen saya pribadi, semakin dini kita belajar sesuatu maka semakin baik, karena perkembangan sesuatu akan lebih mudah untuk kita mempelajari sesuatu sejak kecil. Seperti ada peningkatan level yang kita lakukan mulai dari kita kecil hingga dewasa. Begitu juga pandangan saya terhadap second language ini. Jadi menurut saya pribadi semakin kecil kita belajar bahasa itu akan lebih baik untuk memudahkan kita di masa dewasa kita nanti. But about the critical age of the second language learning, I think there is no critical age for second language learning. So I think that's all for my groups. Thank you for nice attention, and hopefully God always bless us. Stay healthy, you guys. And this presentation is finished. Maybe we continue about discussion. So that's all for us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.